So when you hear the phrase Buddhist compassion, what comes to mind? For a lot of us, it's a picture of absolute gentle passivity. But what if the reality is, well, way more dynamic and a whole lot more powerful? Today, we're going to explore a side of Buddhist ethics that goes way beyond just non-action to face the messy, complicated world of real harm. And we really have to start right here with this incredibly profound quote. It's the cornerstone of Buddhist nonviolence. It's that beautiful, core idea that most of us hold on to, that the only true antidote to hatred is love.
And this noble idea often gets boiled down to this ideal of gentle passivity, right? A belief that the proper response to any and every conflict is to just absorb it, to not resist. It's a beautiful sentiment, for sure. But is it the whole story?
Because this is where things get tricky. What happens when that ideal runs head-on into someone who is about to cause immediate malicious harm? Is just stepping back always the most compassionate act for everyone involved? The ancient texts actually suggest it's a lot more nuanced than that. And that brings us to our first section, the wisdom of self-protection. We're about to see how protecting yourself isn't seen as selfish at all. In fact, it's a fundamental part of living with real wisdom and compassion. This sutra just flips the whole idea of protection on its head. It's not about choosing between yourself and others. It's about mutual care. By looking after your own well-being, you're actually better able to help others. And by helping others, you're also protecting yourself. They're totally interconnected. So the key point here is that this path isn't about passive avoidance. It's an active practice. It's about training the mind. And sometimes that means you have to set firm boundaries. It takes real courage to see harm for what it is and to step in and interrupt it, not just to turn away. Now, to really unpack this kind of ethical complexity, the teachings use these powerful stories or parables. We're going to look at two of them that show very different situations, and each one reveals a totally different side of what wise compassion can look like. And wow, this really highlights the tension. On one side, you have the Bodhisattva never disparaging. When he's met with violence, his response is a wise retreat. He doesn't give up his vow to see the good in people, but he also doesn't stick around to get hurt, which allows him to continue his work. But then you look at the Bodhisattva Captain. He's on a ship, and he discovers one man is about to murder all 500 passengers. Suddenly, wise retreat isn't really a compassionate option anymore, is it? So let's just pause and put ourselves in the captain's shoes for a moment. This is a truly agonizing dilemma. If you do nothing, 500 people die and the murderer creates this horrific karma for himself. But if you intervene with force, you break a fundamental rule against killing. So what is the truly compassionate action here? And here's the captain's incredible thought process. He decides he must kill the would-be murderer, but listen to his motivation. It's not anger, it's not self-preservation. He is fully willing to accept the personal consequence of going to a hell realm in order to save the other man from a much, much worse fate and to protect the 500 merchants. I mean, this is just a radical, mind-bending form of compassion. So, how can an act of killing possibly be considered compassionate? This leads us to the absolute core principle that solves this paradox. The moral weight of an act isn't in the action itself. It's all about the mind, the intention that's behind it. This is all explained through a key concept called upāya, or skillful means. It teaches that morality isn't a rigid black and white rulebook. An action that looks really harsh on the surface can actually be the most skillful and ethical thing to do, as long as it comes from a place of pure compassion and wisdom, and it's what the situation truly demands. And the conclusion of the story is just stunning. Because the captain's mind was completely free from hatred, greed, or any self-interest, the sutra says his act wasn't just blameless, it actually generated merit. He was like a surgeon, causing a necessary wound to prevent a far greater catastrophe for everyone involved. And this powerful quote from the Buddha just drives that point home. No matter what is happening to you, no matter what action you have to take, the one thing you cannot do is let hatred arise in your mind. Your inner state is everything. Which brings us to our next section, which is all about why this freedom from hatred is so incredibly important. The teachings don't frame it as some righteous emotion. They see it as a self-destructive poison that clouds our judgment and harms us more than anyone else. You see, hatred is considered one of the three poisons, along with greed and delusion. These are the fundamental mental states that cause all of our suffering. And the cool thing is, each poison has a specific antidote. For hatred, the cure is the active cultivation of loving kindness. The sutras use such powerful metaphors to describe this. Hatred isn't just a fleeting feeling. It's a grip. It's a snare. It's something that gets a hold of you, traps you, and prevents you from ever being free. And this is probably the most vivid image of all. You know that saying about how holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die? Well, this simile from the suttas captures that same exact truth. Holding on to anger is like grabbing a venomous snake. The poison doesn't go outwards. It poisons the one holding on. Okay, so what do we take away from all this? In our final section, we're going to pull these ideas together into one last powerful metaphor: compassion as a tool, maybe even a sword that has to be wielded with incredible wisdom. This is the middle way in action. It's a living path that steers between the extremes of aggression and just being a doormat. And it's built on these three pillars. You need morality to protect everyone from harm. You need concentration to keep a steady heart even in a crisis. And you need wisdom to see clearly what the right action actually is. And this ancient wisdom isn't just for dramatic parables. It's a daily discipline for us, right now. Before you react to a tough situation, whether it's at work or online, you can practice this. First, just pause. Don't immediately react. Second, check your own intention. Is this coming from anger or a real desire to help? And then, choose words and actions that are actually going to heal the situation, not make it worse. And that leaves us with a final question to ponder. We started with this idea of compassion being gentle and soft. But what if true, fearless compassion, guided by clear-seeing wisdom, is actually the most decisive and powerful force there is? A sword that doesn't harm, but instead cuts right through delusion itself.